Welcome to Finding Freedom Outdoors. Tanner here once again. Dan is actually inside handling the business side of things, and I'm out here in our shop. I got a dozen arrows ordered for a customer, and I thought this is a perfect time to go through and show the steps I do on our precision arrow. I haven't figured out what I'm going to call it yet. It's not just cut, glue, and fletch out the door. There's multiple steps to it. It's an in-depth process. So I'm going to show you from start to finish. I'm going to try to give you an in-depth, or at least a inside look on what you do, what I do to build the most accurate, forgiving, and overall just the best quality of an arrow you can get for whatever set of arrows you got. So here I've got a dozen, well it's 11. I've already started and prepped a little bit. Got a dozen Sirius Supernova 2.0s. I will recommend any and everyone who's just now getting into the process of either building your own or having someone else build your own arrows. Whether that's me, another shop, I don't care. I just want to make sure everyone is as accurate as they can be with the setups they got. But these are the toughest arrows I've ever worked with. They blow any other arrow I've ever shot out of the water. And that's not there's a place for every arrow. These are kind of heavy, 10.5 grains per inch. A little thicker carbon, and they are a thick arrow. They're not a micro diameter. They're a standard shaft, 246. And I'm going to start by taking you over to the draw board. I got the bow loaded and an arrow already loaded. So I'll see you over there. Alright, so I'm over here at the draw board. We've got a Hoyt twin turbo Redworks. Initially I draw the bow back, have someone, Dan or your friend, whoever, mark the arrow with a Sharpie, but I don't got that because Dan's handling business work while I'm out here doing custom order work. So we'll draw it back, and you want it not to push on your stops completely, but you want it at the furthest drawn back position. And then, I actually don't have it, so there will be a cut in this video. You're going to take a straight edge, put a straight edge right against the shelf. I want the arrow to pretty much end at the shelf. I'm actually not going to grab a straight edge. I'm just going to eyeball it. So I'm going to move you up close, push you down, just so you can see. And now take your silver Sharpie and draws use a line. Now I'll cut on the saw on the far side of the line. That Sharpie will stay. See you at the arrow saw. Forgot one thing. You're only going to do this with one arrow because if you buy a quality arrow saw, you can just maintain the one spot that there is. Initially just lock it into place so you don't have to go through all dozen, 6, 24, however many arrows you're fletching. So you're going to end up with a Sharpie line, just like that. Now you're going to cut on the north side of that Sharpie line. Once you get your arrow saw set, you do not cut it first. This is just setting up everything before I actually start with the process of making an arrow. This is step 1, not even 1, just setup. So I'm gonna hang this customer's bow back up so it don't get damaged in our draw board, and I'll catch you at the Aero Lab. Bye. All right, this is the best view I can get without manhandling it. So what you're going to do to start is knock your arrow in your saw and then make an adjustment. Now you want to take your time with this. You want to get it right. Sorry if my hair gets in the way. So let's see if I can get you a better view. This might be sideways. The blade of the saw is right on the farthest side of that line. So what I'll do is then just run the arrow and you'll be able to see the mark it made. Just barely longer than that Sharpie line. You don't cut it, don't do nothing yet. And what we're gonna do is lock this down, make sure everything's square, double, triple check. Because we're going to sand that down with our squaring tool, put a new fresh pad in that, sand it down, and now we start sorting these arrows. Sorry for the loud noise. We're gonna hand sort every one of these arrows, take that silver Sharpie, and make a mark on the wobbly end. Whatever end is the most wobbly, we'll make a mark on. When it's all done in the quiver, it's going to look like this with the labels. And it's not aesthetically pleasing, but I'm not here to make everything look good. I'm here to make everything perform to its best of its ability, no matter the shape, no matter whatever you bring in the shop or you have us order. And we're gonna make it fly. So I'll be back. All right, we're gonna have to deal with this camera angle, but what we're gonna do is spin each one of these. I'll be back. I don't have a silver Sharpie. So we'll start with this one. So on this particular one, this end is wobbly. So we'll cut off this end. Oh. This end is wobbly. So we'll cut off that end. This end is wobbly. So for the most part, it's been the front of the arrow that's been wobbly. We'll do one more. Oh. This end. We actually had this one backwards. So I just make a little X, and that's to know where end I need to cut off of. Do one more. And take your time. Spin each arrow multiple times. You're not gonna hurt anything. Yeah, so this end is wobbly. Sirius has never done me wrong. Now, I'm gonna finish these and we'll come back. All right. So, now that you've got your the sides that you're going to cut off, whatever side that shall be, now you're going to orientate them all to the direction of the saw blade. I had to think about how I was going to say that. So you're going to grab each individual arrow. This one goes this way. Just make a pile of them. Perfect. These three are this way. So now, the ones that you're going to cut the closest to the label to, you're going to set aside. You're going to set aside and what we're going to do is we're going to take 1 inch or so off the end of that, run it through the spinner. If it fixes the issue, we're going to take that other X amount of inches off the knock side, or the insert side, backwards. Sorry. And what we're going to do is try to make them as perfectly straight as we possibly can with the smallest amount of tolerance. I'm sure you guys are thinking like, oh, this is pointless, why would I do that? But I'm actually going to go deeper and will really probably blow your guys' mind, because we have 12 arrows, 4 Fletch. He wants white and teal. So what we're going to do is we'll need 24 of each color. We're going to weigh out 24 and make 3 piles. On the money, whatever grains they're supposed to be, low or high, and we're going to weigh each shaft after it's cut and pair it with, if it's a heavy shaft, like the tolerance is a little heavy, we're going to pair it with light vanes, and then if it's a light shaft, we're going to pair it with heavier vanes that are a little over the tolerance, whatever that'll be, and we'll do the same thing for the insert. We're going to, essentially, we want a tolerance. If we're 600 grains on the dot or 500 grains on the dot, and say there's a half a grain variance between all the components that you're putting on, times that by 4 vanes, so that's 2 grains different, by insert, which is 2.5 grains different, by say a knock, that's another, we're easy numbers, half a grain difference. So we're sitting 3 grains light or 3 grains heavy. That arrow is not going to fly exactly the same as the arrow that weighs 600.00000 grains. All right. So it's going to get noisy, but essentially what I did was I knocked these backwards. My saw requires you to have a knock in it. And I have it set to where it's going to cut roughly 1 inch or about 1.25 inches off the wobbly side that is normally the knock end. And I've got all of them separated. These ones right here, I cut as cut and go. The wobbly side was on this end that the insert normally goes in. So it's gonna get cut like it normally should. It's gonna get noisy. I'll do 1 or 2 on camera and then either time lapse or cut to the other ones, but my radio is gonna die. So let me handle this situation first. All right, now we shall cut. All right, I'm gonna time lapse y'all. Now that you got this end, and this is the knock end, if you were to shoot them traditional, what we're gonna do is we're gonna sand I'm gonna put a new sanding pad in, and we're gonna sand and square the knock end. Square your knock ends. Not saying you can't trust it from a factory, but it is reassurance. Better to be safe than sorry. So I mark all my ends with silver Sharpie. I'll do that right now. And I will sand until all the silver Sharpie is gone. And this just ensures a flat sitting knock. You know, the knock is, they're made by the million, you know, millions of them are made at a time. They're not gonna catch every little deviation. So I would much rather just take the time and do my best part that any variable I can control, I want to control. We're gonna sand and square the knock ends real quick. I'm gonna time lapse that. And actually I'll do one on camera for you guys really quick here. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. I didn't swap out the sanding disc, but you'll be able to see a little bit. I don't know if you'll be able to pick that up. Silver Sharpie on the end of this. The lighting ain't too good. We're gonna just sand it until there's no silver Sharpie. And what I like to do is get the cord out of the way. Is I hold both ends at the roller and just roll it like you're starting a campfire. You don't want it in the middle, because if you push in the middle, it's not square. You don't want it at the end. You don't want no wobble. Push it in. Smooth, even pressure through the entirety. Pull it off. No more silver Sharpie. I'm going to rinse and repeat with all the others. Set a time lapse. Now that that's done, I'm going to pull the knocks off the end. So we're back. We've got the saw adjusted to the right length again. And now we're going to cut the arrow shaft down to appropriate size. I did not film a step in between. I spun the arrows that I took a little bit off the knock side to make sure everything spun true and straight. I should have recorded that, but if I take one, where's one at? Right here. This one right here was a knock. Oh, no. Excuse me, I was wrong. You look at the... Here's one. This was a knock side that was wobbly. Wasn't true. Now when I spin it, the knock end spins true. Now we're going to cut them down to the appropriate length. And I only took like an inch, inch and a quarter. Not much off. So if I do one of these numbers, you'll see that shaft is yay much shorter. Inch or so. Inch and a quarter, inch and an eighth. Now I'm just going to cut them. As you all know, I'm going to film once, one, and then cut to the others. I'm just going to rinse and repeat that. Repeat that step for all 11 other arrows, and then we'll go to cleaning and fletching. I clean my shafts before I fletch and after I fletch. I clean the inside. And then I don't use anything other than JB Weld for my inserts. It's slow curing, so you can make adjustments as needed. It's easy to clean and easy to see where it gets on everything, so you don't end up with adhesive all over. And it's relatively easy to clean with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. So once I get all these arrow shafts cut, I'll see you back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square both ends again on every single arrow. I cut them a little long so I have a little bit of sanding room or squaring room, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to do 2 on camera and then go off camera and do the rest. And you're wanting to make sure your hand placement is exactly the same. And just making them as square as possible, both ends, flip them around, do both ends, don't be lazy. Even the ones you've already done, you put a knock in them, just for reassurance. So, this is what all of them look like cut. And if you notice, got a few where the labels don't match up. That means you're doing something right. That means you're caring about both ends of the shaft. If, say you got a shaft, right? This is the insert and field point broadhead end. And this is the knock end. Let me scoot you back a little bit. If this end is wobbly, if this end is wobbly and you only cut off this end, the shaft is going to be wobbly still on the knock end. It's not going to be a true shaft. With that being said, you separate them out and you get something that ends up looking like this. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of a dozen. Excuse me. There's 5 out of a dozen that not just one end was wobbly. Either both were wobbly and out of straightness, or the knock end was out of straightness. So we cut the wobbly end off and squared up and cut the rest off the front. So then you end up with uneven label. Never actually done it. But you can remove the label if you care. I don't care, so I'm never going to do it. I'm just going to deal with the little bit of awkward looking in the quiver. And I wear it as not a badge or whatever, but like a little, hey, I actually took the time to hand spin every arrow before and after I cut for the maximum precise and best flying, most accurate arrow I can build. Because after it leaves the bow, the only thing that matters is your arrow. You've got a kinetic energy launcher. Your bow only does one thing. You pull it under tension, and that tension has to go somewhere. And after that, it goes in the arrow. And if your arrow is a little wobbly, you might have one that flies 3 inches to the left or 2 inches to the left, or whatever little variance. That could be the difference between hitting a perfect heart shot versus hitting one lung liver on a quartering 2 deer. Howdy, howdy.
Hey.
And building some custom arrows.
Yeah.
And with that being in mind, if you care about your labels being perfectly even, then either remove the label with a little bit of acetone or solvent or just cut off one end and then separate your flyers and don't shoot them. Don't matter to me. I try to build the most custom built and performance-based arrow for the best and maximum results. So now we're going to go inside and clean both ends of these shafts. So I'm going to take a Q-tip, dip it in some rubbing alcohol, insert it in the shaft until it's clear, and then we'll start fletching. All right. So now what we're going to do is clean and prep every shaft. And the only reason why we do this is so everything is clean. We don't want no contaminants. We want everything perfect. So I'm going to take a handful of Q-tips. I don't have my trash can over here, so excuse me. Let me grab my trash can. Sorry. And we're going to grab 70% rubbing alcohol. You don't want 90. You don't want something that evaporates fast. You want something that's going to stick. And I just fill up the cap. You can already see it's kind of somewhat dirty. Oh, spill it all over my leg. That works too. And now, dip a Q-tip in it. And both ends of the shaft. Clean them out. It's pretty straightforward. Pretty easy. You're going to do wet, dry, just like cleaning a gun. For those of you who shoot guns, it's going to be real similar. Just going to go until you can stick a Q-tip in. And there's no black on it, no carbon dust. If there's a little bit of carbon dust, just redo it. It's no big deal. The more you rush, the more work you create yourself down the road. A little bit of black. Do it one more time. Clean. Boom. Now you're going to rinse and repeat. Set it somewhere that ideally is clean. And you don't want to blow into the end, because if you blow into the end, there's a good chance that you can suck in some carbon dust. And aside from being bad for you, it probably could kill you. So it's not what we want to do. Wash both ends and go pretty deep. You're not going to get the whole shaft perfect, and you don't need to. And then what I do is I buy the cheapos and I fluff up the end, stick it in. There's a little bit of carbon dust on that, but quite a bit on that one. So I'm going to redo it. Once again, don't be afraid to redo it. Our goal here is to make sure everything is perfectly white like that. See that little dark spot right there? Not enough to worry about. Keep moving on. I'll catch you in the very next step. Welcome back. Now we're gonna get into the meat and the potatoes. What we're going to do is we're gonna get out our scale, weigh 24 white and 24 teal. Whatever color you're gonna use, that's gonna be what it is. We're gonna separate them into 3 piles. These are supposed to be I don't know. I think it's 8 grains. BRB, I'm gonna restart this. All right, so we're back. All of our shafts are cleaned. They're over there. We're gonna weigh out 24 white and 24 blue on this piece of paper. I've got light on the left, right on the money in the middle, heavy on the right. These are supposed to weigh 8 grains. So this one, 7, 8, 8 on the money. 1, 8 on the money. So we got 2. 3. 7.8 for that one. 8.4. 1, 2, we got 4, 6, 7, heavy. 8, heavy, 8.4. You get the idea. And so I'm back. So you've got, I know what you're saying and thinking, you've got uneven numbers, right? There's not enough blues in the right weight to do 2 fletchings of each color. There's not enough white to do 2 fletching of each color. Now we're going to weigh each individual shaft and do the same thing. And we'll do it with all 3 components. And ultimately you'll end up with an arrow that is light yoke pair with heavy components, or too heavy and too light to equal out the weight. Some of these in the heavy were mind-boggling 8.6. That's over a half a grain difference. And the ones that were on the money were 8 flat, or 8.1, 8.2, 7.9. And then the light were 7.8, 7.6. So we'll do the same thing with the inserts after we're done with the arrows. So what we're gonna do, and I'll move you guys over so you guys can see, and I'm only gonna do 2 on camera like normal, is I'm going to tear, let me BRB, sorry for the hold up, tear. Now we're gonna take an average of all these, because I do not cut to a proper quarter, half, or directly on the inch. It's like, it could be, for this draw length, 29 or 28 and 7/16. It could be 28 and 9/16. It could be, it's not gonna add up. Excuse me, sorry. It's not gonna add up to 10.5 grains to a flat inch or whatever, half inch, so it's just 10 grains. So we're gonna take the average of 3, then restart, because that weight of the average is what we're after to go off as our baseline, if that makes sense. So this shaft weighs 295 grains on the money. So 295. Uh, 296. Actually, let me, it's on this paper. 298. So 297 average right now. And 299.2 Oh, that's not an accurate reading. 299.0. So 299, 299, 298 is the median average number we're going to use. So anything above 288 is going into a heavy pile. Anything below 288 is going in a light pile. And so for that, what we'll do, let's grab $298. Gonna go here. $295. $297. So that's a light shaft. So we're gonna have heavy and light. Pretty straightforward. I'm gonna run through the rest of these, and after that we'll clean them up, fletch them, and all right. So we're back. We're cleaning off our mat. You want your mat clean, so I just put a little bit of rubbing alcohol on it, and I'm just gonna clean up everywhere I'm going to work. So the entirety of this mat is going to get clean. I am not going to be able to film all this because I have I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Ignore the mess we have to clean. We got that little jet heater right there. After I run the wrap on the jet heater, and I have an arrow over there that I took it out. Never mind. Actually, I'm gonna use a good arrow. So this is just gonna prove. I'm gonna take my wraps, and I'm going to give a little shout out here. These Boeing arrow wraps are almost always within 0.0 or 0.1 grains. I don't find it necessary to weigh these Boeings. That's a little shout out, and that's a little, I don't know, I've never seen that type of quality out of any other wrap. But let me grab an arrow that is done and I've fletched. And so here is an arrow I fletched. That little heater, after I wrap them, I stick it in front of the heater for 5 seconds. 5 to 15 seconds, just to get it hot. Not melting, but hot. I find it makes the glue adhere to the carbon tenfold. And then what I do is when I'm gluing these in, I clean them with my finger. So at the end, your fingers are going to be all covered in fletching glue, or it's pretty well super glue. But I just want to prove to you, let me find the seam on this. Here's the seam. You cannot get that up. You're not going to lose a fletching. And I've just found a great, unless if you're smacking fletchings with your field points, which it happens, or broadheads, it is going to be very hard to rip these off. And then when you want to peel them off, or you send them back to get peeled off, whatever you shall do, if you heat this wrap up, I put it in front of my little heater, just a forced air propane heater, for 30 seconds, get it hot. They peel off and leave almost zero residue. You don't have to worry about taking a heavy solvent that could possibly degrade your carbon quality. And I found you just peel them off, you run them with a little bit of 70% isopropyl alcohol, and it takes whatever little bits left on off with no issues. But with that being said, this is a short 300 spine arrow. I'm going to It's not gonna rip off. So let me get set up and I'll be right back. First person point of view, kinda, sorta, holding the tripod with my legs. These arrows are heavy, those arrows are light. Folded. And I take a generous amount of isopropyl alcohol and pour it on each. And then fold it in half again so it doesn't all evaporate very quickly. Set one aside, soak up the extras. And I'll grab a heavy arrow shaft, knock end, and we're going to clean. We're going to clean the shaft. Oh, sorry, camera's trying to go black on me. We're going to clean the arrow shafts as good as we can. Take your time, and that's exactly why we do it. If you just rush through that little carbon dust is going to prohibit a good adhesion, whatever. Take your wrap. Again, trying to be as sanitary as possible. I take the cellophane. I set it off to the side. Take my pad. Do not let the wrap itself touch anything. And peel my... I wash my hands with isopropyl alcohol as well. I don't want no oils or anything on them. And... bam. Now, we're going to want a clean area. Once again, double check. Make sure you're not going to run into any issues. You might see my chin. You're going to roll it right on. It's really hard to film and do this. Roll it back. Really get that seam pushed down. Roll it straight on. And then you have a perfectly wrapped arrow. Now I'll take it over that heater and fire that heater up. Put it in front of it for 5 seconds. Let it bond. Or you can rub it between your hand. I don't like doing that because then guess what? You got to go back and gently clean it because you've got some sort of dust on it. And this is all just so it adheres very well and you have no issues. So let me get that heater fired up and then I'll see you guys when all of them are done. So it's going to be noisy, but just so it's warm and tacky. That's it. Nothing more. You don't need to burn it. Alright, we're back. I've got my Bitzenberger jig set up. I'm not going to go in depth on that. I'm not going to show you all my trade secrets, but we have a 2-degree offset right helical. His bow shoots off the bow with a bear shaft to the right. How you figure that is you stand about 6 feet, 2 yards, 7 foot or so. Not too far because you don't want to over rotate. You're going to knock it, draw a mark on the knock where it's up, shoot a bear shaft and no fletchings, no nothing on it, and you'll notice the knock will either sit like this, like it came off the string, it'll sit like this, so that means it rotated to the right or to the left. You fletch helical. Most people say bows launch left. I've personally never seen a bow launch left, but I also shoot bows with aftermarket strings. Couldn't tell you. Don't know the difference. But I'm going to fletch 2 fletchings. About to sneeze. I've got my arrow set. So, sorry for the interruption. I've got getting really tired. I've got the heavies here and the lights in front of me. Got a light in the jig, so I'm gonna put a heavy blue fletching on. And what I do is I dry fit all these. Oh, I've cleaned this with a isopropyl alcohol like you'd use a primer pad. I cleaned the bottom of it with a paper towel, isopropyl alcohol, 70%. I find it works. Tell me down in the comments how wrong I am and how well that don't work. But it works for me. I've never had a fletching rip off. I've had them get cut off, never ripped off. I'm going to test fit everything. I'm looking at the front and the back. I'm looking for any little lip on the fletching to be sticking up. Like I said, I've already done this, so I don't have to do it for the video. I'm going to pull this off. And I space my fletchings as close to that bottom line as I can get it. I find that the farther back, without going extremely far back and getting interruptions when you're at full draw it, touching your face or whatever, just overall adds a little better steering power. I do a 2-degree offset helical, and I'm going to do blue or teal and white, teal and white for a 4 fletch. I have it set at 90-degree offset, so I'm not doing the, 90 and 120. I'd have to look at my sheet. I have everything wrote down on how I do it. So my veins are going to be completely across from each other. They'll make a perfect X versus like a actual X shape. It'll be a plus instead of an X. I'm getting very tired. It's very late where I'm at, and I've got to work in the morning. But, so, most people overput glue. I don't know if you can see that. I bend the end of it, and then I take a pick, and I shove it down there to expand the hole. I don't like to have to squeeze it a lot. I like the glue to just run. But it's bent, so it's facing down, so when it's like this, it's flush. You can buy aftermarket tips for your glue bottle. I found they're worth the money if you only do dollops. What I do is I do a thin line, and then I want some to push out when I'm fletching, and I'll show you why here in a second. Let me move this a little better for you guys so you guys can see without bumping you. I hold for about 10-15 seconds. Alright, so you're going to look at this, and you'll see you got glue right there, glue sticking out the side. I rotate it, and then the glue up front, I take my finger, and I run it over the back. To enclose it, run your finger down the side. It's going to adhere to your hand immediately, so you got to be quick and don't touch nothing else. And then the glue at the back, I do the same thing. I push it up into itself, into the back of the fletching. Now I'm going to do the same thing with a white heavy. And the whole reason you're doing this is we have a light shaft. We're going to compensate that couple half grains or so off with these heavy fletchings. So everything ends up exactly the way it should be. I also wash my hands with isopropyl alcohol. It's not necessary. You don't have to do it. but I don't want no oil on my skin. I don't want no oil to get on the fletching. And squeeze. You want to see some glue come out. Clean it up with your finger. You got to be quick. If you do buy fletching or fletched arrows from us at Finding Freedom, you will. Oh shoot! What did I do? Camera problem. You will see a little bit of excess glue on the sides. That is so you get a proper arrow bond. It's not that we want to be dirty or unclean. It's so that we know that that arrow has the appropriate amount of glue in it. And now we're going to go with a blue. Clean it. Let it dry. And can you see that? Pretty nifty. And set it in, and then in between, I'll fletch 3 arrows, and then I take a razor blade and scrape all the excess glue off this. Takes a while. It's labor intensive. But the whole point is a unmatched precision that you can get. I don't want... Have you ever bought a pack of arrows and then shot them, and like the first 2 arrows you have a fletching fly off? It's aggravating. Especially for the amount that we pay for these arrows. I expect nothing less than the best. And your fingertips will be all sorts of gluey. You can't touch nothing. Now I'm going to do a white, and I'll show you the end result. And then I'll post a picture of the complete product of a dozen arrows when this video is released, and then if I think of anything along the way. Oh, about glued my fingers together. And you will end up doing it. You just gotta accept it at this point. And granted, you don't have to do all these steps. I do all these steps because I've noticed that if I can make a arrow that is forgiving when you ultimately don't make that ideal shot, or you're not perfectly stable, the arrow can compensate and help you a little bit. Other than that, you can easily just shoot the same setups you were shooting before. This isn't what you have to do. This is just what I found that absolutely makes a perfect arrow. So you're going to end up with an arrow like that. I'll put the insert in. I'll bring you guys back when we throw in the inserts. We'll weigh this overall arrow. We'll weigh the overall arrow. And the arrows that are a little light will get a heavy insert. The arrows that are a little heavy will get a light insert. Same process, same shape. We'll do the same thing with nocks when everything's secured. Those are not needed steps. So what is this, like a 12 step, 13, 14, 15 step arrow? But it's what I do to ensure the maximum capability I can get out of an arrow. And if you buy a set of arrows out of the, like from us doing these, you can guarantee this arrow is ready to be nock tuned, where all you do, rotate the nock a quarter turn, shoot it. You'll have one flyer, one that shoots a little left, turn it, and then all of a sudden it groups in with the other ones. And then you go from buying a dozen arrows that have 4 flyers till you get a dozen arrows that are custom built, that you have one flyer, and then you just put P on it or whatever you want. I have 6 hunting and 6 practice, all of which are equal, all of which are nock tuned, bare shaft, the whole ordeal. But I just don't want to live with buying 2 dozen arrows to get 15 or 14 that fly perfect, and then you have a bunch of junk ones that you can't practice with them, because if it's not hitting where you're aiming, then you're going to make sight adjustments that are not necessary and not needed, because the other arrows fly right where they are. That's the whole point for this. So when it comes time, I don't know if I'm going to finish these tonight. What I'll do is I'll put everything in a Ziploc bag or a Tupperware container so dust and debris can't get on them. And then the arrows themselves, I will wrap up in paper towel so nothing can get on them. And then I'll pick up tomorrow or wherever. Wherever. So I'll see you then. Bye-bye. All right, welcome back. This is day 2. I ran out of steam last night, so I set this up. I've got my arrows separated. They're all were individually weighed. The heavy are towards the wall. The light are right here. I weighed each individual insert. Believe it or not, some of these heavies, they were supposed to be 12 grains a piece. Some of the heavies were almost 13 grains. So some of the lights were over a half a grain light, weighing in at like 11.4, 11.5. So I remove all the nocks off my arrows when I build them, because I use JB Weld, so it stays pretty soft for a while. So what I do is I take a Q-tip, remove all the fuzzy, or majority of the fuzzy off. Didn't do a very good job. And I'm going to, because these have a hole in the back and a hole in the front where you screw in your point or your broadhead. I'm going to grab one set of arrow. I'm going to pair the light arrows with the heavy inserts, the heavy arrows with the light insert. I'm going to pair the heavy arrows with a light insert and the light arrows with a heavy insert, just to try to find a balance and equal it out. And all we're doing is I use JB Weld, just a quick JB Weld. And the reason for using the JB Weld, I know a lot of people use hot melt so you can take it off and just heat it up and fix your insert, but I want my arrows to be as solid as they can be, as solid as they can be for the durability per se. Like, I don't want my insert coming out. I don't want to have to worry about my insert coming out. And I found the best way to ensure that is JB Weld. It's not terribly expensive, and it's not, oh, why did I do that? It's effective at what it does. So just equal parts. You don't need much. I'm gonna mix this up real quick and I'll be back. All right, so I got this mixed up. One thing I like about this is there's no rush. Take your time. It's got 4 or 5 hour cure time, so Ideally, you want to wait 24 hours. And I'm going to grab each individual component. I take the knockout, and the reason why you take the knockout is because whenever you put it in, you're going to compress the air in this, and with the glue, you can set it down, push it in, and then come back and it'll push your insert out just a little bit. I don't like that, so you take the knockout just for allowing that air to come out. And what I do is I just get a little glob, yay big, and I run a ring around the middle of the insert. You want to be careful to not over glue it. And if you over glue it, I forgot to do something, but if you over glue it, this stuff is pliable. And then I rotate, pull it in, pull it out, get a complete coverage over the entire shaft. Then I seat it in all the way. Take me a paper towel, clean the excess off, and you're not left with any residue or any glue. And what this allows is, what I do is you can screw your head in there and adjust it so your knock up and your broadhead sits horizontally with your fletchings or against your fletchings if that's what you like. And I just clean it up, look down in it, make sure there's no, you want to see, oh, I just had it perfect on the camera. You want to see light through it if you don't have it enclosed. Enclosed insert, like the 100 grain stainless steel ones I shoot are enclosed, so you could just glob them up, slide them in, and be done. But that's rinse and repeat. I'm gonna finish these, and then I'll have a short little picture when they're all done. All right, so I finished all these arrows, and I've got one completely assembled. I'll just show you these arrows real quick. One that I got assembled, 200 grain field point. Customer wanted 560 grains, 561.8, and then it's going to be a little off. What I'm going to do is put one on as it sits. No, of course you ain't gonna stay, are you? .551.0. So you get all your arrows relatively close. So you get all your arrows relatively close within a grain of each other. You ain't gonna have much difference. But I would like to just go through and show you these arrows real quick. You get a nice clean point. No globs of glue. I leave a little tag of glue on the tip of the fletching. Let's get you some better light. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. And I just walk it back over the tip of the fletching. Same with the rear. And these aren't even cured all the way, but I don't have my tripod. Let me try to do this. If you take it, you ain't gonna pull it off. Any fletchings are stuck on real nice. But that's the final product. Get you a decent little look. So, this will be the actual outro. Go out, shoot your bow, push yourself, find your limit, and most of all, find your freedom. See you guys next week.